Hello, everybody. Welcome to Lit InQUEERies, an interview-style conversation with queer readers about their favorite books, their lives, their queer experiences, and general queer lit. Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, I'm Blaine Christopher, and this is Blaine's Book Club, and today I am joined by fellow non-binary baddie, Taylor. Yay! So today we are talking about Unwieldy Creatures by Addie, Tsai, and it is a gender-swapped retelling of Frankenstein. It's very queer, very non-binary, lots of interesting turns, we shall say. Taylor, I'm curious why you chose this book for us to talk about today, and how did you find it?
So I have been reading a lot of queer horror. I really only got back reading. I was a huge reader when I was young and then fell off in college when I decided I wasn't going to read anything required or unrequired.
Same.
And then getting out of school, not really, the pandemic hit and I started to read a little bit more. And then it wasn't until the last couple of years where being on social media has felt increasingly stressful and unpleasant and the worst possible way to end a day. I've been like, you know what? I got to get back on my reading game. This is the only way out of this. So I've been reading a ton more. I always liked mystery and horror, and that was always a genre I was really interested in. So this book came from some random person's Instagram where they made a carousel of queer horror you should know about. And then I thought I should know about it. But I really liked it because I, wouldn't consider myself someone who reads a lot of true literature classics. And that's never been where I've been focused. And so I really liked that this one was drawing from this classic piece of literature, but doing something wild with it. So I really enjoyed it. And then I think of the options that I gave to talk about today, this one really stuck out to me. I read it a couple months ago, so it is much fresher for you than it is for me, but I did lend it from my local library so that I could just feel like I remembered everyone's name. But yeah, I thought that it was a really cool way to make something that people think of as part of this major literary canon, so queer and just so different than anything else I'd read in any of the time before or after it.
That is such a good point. And, a lot of these classics are very of their time. And so it's always so interesting. Yeah. So it's always so interesting when there are modern retellings. And I love the take on this and it being so queer and gender bending. And of course, it's Frankenstein. Why have we not gone there before? You know what I mean? I was thinking we could do maybe a spoiler-free conversation about this book just because it's not as well known, because I'd like to encourage people to pick it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I really enjoyed it. I read it in a day and a half. So
yeah, no, it was one of my shorter reads as well. It really did pull me in. I think I read it in the winter, and I remember sitting in a cafe waiting to go grab dinner with some family, and I remember reading it in this cozy nook in the corner, almost by firelight. It felt so it was a gloomy, stormy night, and I was reading this book specifically, and I was I was burning through it. It was so good.
There were many moments where I very much related to the text. Were there any moments being non-binary that stood out for you while reading?
I think a lot about language in general. I was a psych major in college, which I always say, I don't use my major directly in my day to day, but I think about it every day. My job isn't in the field of psychology, but I think about what I do and how I show up in the world and how everyone else does, all the time. And something I was really interested in, especially later in my college career, was language and how much language shapes our brain And so I remember reading like the sections where they talk about, and I tried to like dog ear it today because I wanted to get it right. I should have looked up how to pronounce this, but I want to say kalalai, the word that the character is using to describe themselves that's like not a word found in the English language. That is this like descriptive, the cultural root of having like 5 different words for gender instead of two. And
Yeah.
so, and like having there be like words along a spectrum, reading about the character, like processing that, and then thinking about how like I didn't like how I think about representation and language, and like how the language we use doesn't always match the representation we need. And so, like, that felt so, you know, I, as a white person, I don't have a rich cultural history that should be amplified in that way. But I also don't feel like I have the language. I'm growing up in an American culture that does not provide a lot of room for negotiating that relationship one has to gender. Like, there's not the words there to discover and like
Right.
create new like ways of thinking. Like, the language that I have doesn't fit all the time, or it didn't feel that way for a really long time. And so,
Yeah.
like, that sense of like finding language that fits you, that emotion was very real to me, and was like very like, oh my God, like finding some kind of representation. And that was like through language in the book, but like for me was through like visually engaging with the visual culture of New York and people behaving in new ways, and just needing some stimulus from the outside to like point me to where I really felt inside.
Yeah. It's kind of like similarly towards the beginning of my non-binary journey of acceptance, I learned about the term two spirit, the Native American
Mhm.
term. And I was like, oh my God. And it really clicked with me and who I was. But I'm not going around as a white person saying I'm two spirit. Um,
Right.
but
Sure.
it's really incredible how obviously there are words I don't know that I probably resonate with so much. And
Mhm.
so that part also really landed with me as well. So when you were going through your own personal journey with discovering your gender identity, what did that look like for you?
Okay. Well, I guess it gets into like, it wasn't like all of it fell into place at one time. It was like, I came out as bi in my junior year of college. Like, I was making out with girls 2 years before that. So like there were signs. And so I now looking back, I could see the signs for like all of the gender and sexuality stuff. It all makes sense in retrospect. But in the moment, it was like, okay, well, when I came out as bi, I was dating a guy, and he is still a very close friend of mine. And we are on a texting and see each other a couple times a year basis because he was a great friend.
Yeah.
Like, what a nice friend I had. But I was like trying to come out. I was like, okay, I guess I'm bi because I'm dating this guy. So obviously that's how that works. And then I was like, okay, well, actually, like, as the pandemic hit and I was like forced to be at home all the time, I was like, actually, the thought of like being with a guy really does not seem like something I do going forward. I was like, I
Mhm.
just don't know that that's for me. So I was like, I really think that lesbian didn't feel like the right word for me. And I was like, I don't think that's true. And like, once again, it was because I didn't feel like I was a woman who loves women. And to me, that's what a lesbian was, because we are from North Carolina. And so it's like, it's not like, it just didn't, none of I was like seeing in particular, like play out in front of me around like what a lesbian was, or like my 50-year-old step aunt who's like there with her friend at Thanksgiving. None of it like felt right to me. And then I didn't come out as a lesbian really formally ever. I just started to call myself queer or gay, and was like, that'll do. That's fine. That's what I am. To I've done it. And then I got to New York. I moved to New York 5 years ago this summer.
We were having some technical difficulties with sound, so Taylor has new headphones, and I think we're good to go. You were talking about moving to New York. You moved here 5 years ago, and you started going on dating apps, and it was only women and non-binary people.
Yeah. Is this better? Are we good?
Yes.
Yay. Okay. So, yeah. So it was the first time I was seeing like a wider range of representation of what gender and sexuality could be. And I met my partner who I've been with. We just celebrated our 4th anniversary. So we met about a year after I'd moved here. And in that time, I'd kind of started to get the feeling that like something was off about my gender identity compared to what I believed it to be for my whole life. And I remember very specifically like a moment where, I hadn't gone out at all for like all of 2020 and like all of 2021, honestly. And I just remember going on a date with this person just before my partner, and like being in a club, $3 bill, hate it there, but being in $3 bill and being in a dress, and the music is bumping and I'm in a dress, and I like looked a way that pre-pandemic, pre-gender dysphoria Taylor would have been like, I look hot and this is fun. And I was there and I was like, I feel uncomfortable and I don't know why. And then I like went outside and I was like, between this situationship who was refusing to acknowledge that I was like more to them than they let on, and me not feeling comfortable in what I was wearing, and like feeling like people were perceiving me as a woman felt uncomfortable. And I was like, actually, I don't want to be here for so many reasons. And I just like left and dumped that person. A few months later, met my partner. And then our third date was the Dyke March. We went out twice. And then our third date, they were like, hey, I'm like organizing a meetup, like come to the Dyke March with me. There were like three other people that they had come with, and we abandoned all of them and did the march ourselves and just talked for like hours. I remember being at that march and being like, oh, I'm not a gender, and neither is like half generously 60 to 70% of these people. I was like, oh, none of us have a gender. And like, that's actually okay. And like, it made me feel normal. Like that was like one of the first times I remember feeling both not a woman and normal. That was like one of the first times that ever lined up for me. So I came out at first, I was like, oh, they, she, and the like email signature at work. And then I was like quietly shuffling the she away. And then that was kind of it. I came out to my dad later on. He is too supportive, I would say. Which this is funny because you know him.
That is so sweet. Well, congratulations on 4 years. Such a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love that the march and being around so many people that you were like, these are not all women.
Yeah.
Helps you see that in yourself.
Yeah.
Was that your first date with your partner?
That was our third date.
Oh, okay. I was like, what a wild first date.
No, I know. I mean, third was like still wild, I have to say. The like march has really meant a lot to us, like in the time that this will be, because of the way the time works, this will be our 5th march this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So super cool.
It's so interesting because for the viewers, Taylor and I grew up doing theater together and then went to high school together. And I was a demon twink male and they were a straight woman. So us reuniting for this interview is kind of iconic. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it's pretty iconic. I mean, we're talking to this is Marius and whore number 3 back together again.
I'm so dead. And now I really resonate with whore number 3. You know
I
what I
know
mean?
whore number 3 is, really what I was meant to be. No, yeah, the fact that I was cast as whore number 3 at age 14, I think really says a lot about the community we've been part of.
It's crazy.
Written down.
Oh my goodness. Also, it was so crazy how there have been like small little parallels with our lives. Like I was in Asheville one day and I was in a coffee shop and your art was there and I was like, I know that person. It was so exciting to see.
Yeah.
Um, how much has your art and your queerness intertwined?
Yeah. So art was something that I really got into. Spoiler alert, I was in the psych ward a couple times in high school and senior year specifically. And then got I did not get into a single college program for theater. I got into all of them academically and then couldn't get anything for like into any of the like theater programs, performance art. Just started to feel like I I was so uncomfortable with my body being my job. And at the time I didn't realize, oh, that's because I wanted to be more free with my body and not have it perceived as like an archetype. I was like, something already felt off about that to me as I was doing these college auditions, which I bombed, by the way. Like I did really
I was
badly.
gonna say because it's shocking that you didn't
No,
get
I
into
did
any
like I was doing badly. Like I was not doing well. I was like up in New York with
because Taylor was kind of the star of our theater program.
okay, I was whore number 3, not Madame Thenardier, and I'm forever bitter about this. But
I met at our
so
art school.
at our school, yeah, like I was very good at putting on a character. So I've been focusing so much of my life, like so much of my life on performance art, dance, like vocal, theater, all of it. And then I hit that like point in my senior year where I was like, fuck this. I'm so tired of being judged on like the composition of my body and my voice. And I bombed my auditions, not on purpose, but not totally without reason. Like I just was not feeling good about where I was at that point.
It could have been
Um,
the universe protecting you as
a
well.
little bit. And honestly, I'm glad I didn't come up here at that time. It all worked out for a reason, but like at the time it was devastating that I couldn't come to college in New York. And so I was like, screw it, whatever. Like I have to stay in state for money reasons. Let's go to the gayest place imaginable in North Carolina, which is Asheville. And so I was
Surely.
like, yeah, I was like there, not really knowing that's why I was there. Just I was like, funky. And so I was like this funky little town where I shall stay. But yeah, being in college, like on my own, out in the world, like for real, for the first time, I was like, I need hobbies when I'm not doing theater anymore. Like I need something to do with my nights. And so I started making stuff because like when I was in the psych ward, I was like coloring. But I was like creating my own coloring pages. I was like, these are boring. I'm gonna do like I'm gonna make it better. So like my grandma brought me like a sketchbook and like I was like starting to like learn the basics of drawing at that time. And then in college, it just started to become like a therapeutic activity for me was like come home at the end of the long day, come back to my dorm and just fuck it up with some collage for a while. Like just that became how I would like end my day. I started like making a lot of gifts for friends and things. I did like portraits and paintings and things for folks. And it just became a really major like creative outlet for me, but also like an emotional outlet for me. And I think that that's where it started to get into the like, I've always used art to help me process like big, scary feelings. And like some of that is gender, but a lot of that is just kind of like everything in life. Like my feelings are big and scary, and art is like a cool way for me to be like, and now it's also productive. It's like I get to make something. And so that has been the main way, like visual art has been a big way I've been able to like express myself and feel like I'm doing something that's genuinely just for me, even if I do show some of it to other people or it is a gift or it does end up on a wall somewhere, like I think that it's ultimately for me.
I love hearing that. I love that you turned something that we were so focused on for so long into something that you could still pursue your artist, but that felt more true to who you are. And even with the circumstances of the psych ward or whatever was happening there, I'm glad art was there to help guide you as well. And there's a character in this book, Ezra, who the moment art was stolen from him out of his life, he became this completely different person. And I kind of want to go a little more into the family dynamics of these characters and us and queer people. And I was just throughout the biggest through line for me throughout the book was what's the term for social construction by how you're raised.
The nurturing, like how does like the
Yeah.
nurturing environment create
Yes.
a
The
different
through
type
line
of voice?
of that throughout the book, I feel like was so prevalent in each of these characters and their own journeys with themselves, and how if Ezra would have been raised differently, none of this would have happened, or, he'd be in a different place if each of these characters, including the creation, were raised with more empathy and acceptance of who they were, the story would be very different. And I like how that paralleled with Ezra and then the creature in Dr. Frank's storyline, and how Dr. Frank like exhibited behaviors from their own upbringing.
When I was reading the book, there's like a scene where, they're talking about like Dr. Frank's, or is it Plum? Honestly, their story is like intertwined so strongly that I don't remember whose plot was whose at this point months later. But there's a moment where one of them is talking about being with their like partner. It's like when like they're talking about being younger and like being with this person whose parents were actually really supportive and like would have the two of them over for dinner
Yeah,
and like
Dr.
were
Frank.
yeah and like that sense of isolation of, oh, but like somebody else's family like actually could do that but mine can't, or like my family can't do that but someone else's can, like that there's like that level of challenge. But I definitely felt more like that other person's family. Like, I definitely came from like, my dad is so supportive and has always been, like, a huge fan of me from the get-go. There.
Truly,
He
truly
is
your biggest fan.
yeah, he is literally my biggest fan, and sometimes I need him to, like, cool it a little bit, but it's okay. It all comes from such a sweet place, and I think, like, being with my partner, like, the last 4 years has really shown me, like, how much of a fan my dad is of me. The longer I am non-binary, the longer I realize I just am my dad. Like,
Love
like,
that.
like coming out was really just me being like, oh, I'm not like my father. I'm just Michael. I have the same tendency, like all of my masculine associated tendencies are just like the way he acts.
Mhm.
And so it's just like, and then I came out to him as non-binary, like within that like range of time where we're like working on our relationship together. And I remember saying something along the lines of, it's not something I wanted to like tell a lot of people. Like I don't want to correct people about my pronouns. Like, I just don't want to be like, I don't want to like have a thing, like a reason to bother them. I don't want to be like the one who's gonna like disrupt things or like find a way to bother them, something along those lines. And my dad, without missing a beat, was like, you'd find another way to bother them. 'Cause, like, I think about this all the time. And it kind of is true. like, I'm like, there are so many other reasons I could be a father that have nothing to do with my pronouns. So,
I love that.
but yeah, so I have a really supportive dad, but I also he by the time I was an adult was my only parent really, because yeah, mom haven't spoken to in years and that's none of my business. And It was really just like my grandma, my mom's mom, is my grandma and my dad, and they both are just such big fans of me. I was like, well, I can do no wrong, so I might as well get as weird with it as I can.
I have always admired and been maybe even jealous of your relationship with your dad and your grandma.
Yeah, my grandma's my bestie.
Your
Like,
grandma,
full best
like
friend.
I was so when I stalked you on social media, so thrilled to see that you guys are still just as close.
I
Incredible.
FaceTime her every weekend.
I love that. What was her reaction when you told her?
I don't want to say she's still in denial, but like she's never going to use they them pronouns. Like that woman is 80. And like I know that's an excuse a lot of old people use, or even not old people use, is like, I'm not going to learn anything new. But I'm like, I don't think I can train her in this because she lives, and that is honestly like a challenge for me a little bit, is knowing that my grandma's never going to see me that way, and like being so close to her. Like she is truly, I text her every single day, we FaceTime every weekend, I am very very close with her, but she will not ever see me as anything but a woman. And like
Mhm.
I've just had to kind of accept that because she's living in an environment that's not conducive to learning new things. She's living with my aunt, who's not exactly the most, well, she's from Florida, I'll say that. So it's hard to like think about, like, my grandma has no one to practice with. Like, she has no one to talk to who's going to actually use my pronouns correctly and like speak about me in a way that is affirming to her. Like she's going to have no sounding board for like making that settle in her mind. Like I'm the only one who's going to be talking to her on a regular basis, who's going to like affirm that for myself. Um,
Right.
and I think that that's challenging too, because I'm like, I don't really have the means to give her the tools to be able to like see, to give her the language, like to see and feel who I am truly and fully. She does not care. Also, she is obsessed with my partner and does not care that I'm gay at all and never did.
Yeah.
But the gender thing is confusing to her, and she just doesn't have the like, it's not that she doesn't have the desire to learn, it's just she doesn't have any of the tools to
Mhm.
do so, or any community to like
Right. That's a
love
good
them.
point. I'm in a similar situation. My dad's 68 and, he loves me and he's the only one I will allow to,
Yeah, yeah. Grandma
to
gets like a pass.
you see him for me. I'm like, it's not worth the fight. I want to just enjoy my time when I see him because I
Yeah,
see him like once a year. I don't want to spend that time arguing because my dad and it's like arguing with a wall both ways. We just
sure.
simply, yeah.
Yep.
So it's not worth my time, I guess you could say, even though it is a really big part of who I am. But also, you know, as I'm getting older and settling into myself, and I've been out as non-binary for like 7 years now. And I just feel like it's so dumbfounding to me when people don't do it or disagree with it or like it doesn't come naturally for them just because I'm like, I don't, it's so normal for me now.
Yeah.
But I really try to have, patience and grace for people who don't have bad intentions. I love that, you guys are so close and that she loves your partner. That's so sweet. Send your dad my love.
I know.
He
He's
provided
gonna
many
love.
rides for me
Yeah,
growing up.
I think he's gonna love that we even did this. He also really loves my partner. I mean, my partner is very lovable. I'll be the first to say it. But our families really being our biggest fans has been amazing. And like even my partner's family, who they grew up in rural Massachusetts, close enough to Boston to call it home, but still in the fields, in the Irish Catholic area. And so their parents are very different than mine, and their family vibe is different than mine. But both of their parents are big fans of me. And like I've spent a ton of time with their mom and brother. And we like say hey to their dad when we're in town, do the obligatory like family we don't live with kind of thing. But yeah, I think it's like been really great to see both of our families really care about one another. Has been also just like very healing and very affirming for me. Even if none of them get the gender thing,
Mm.
it's still nice to feel seen and cared for as a queer person of any identity.
Taking the idea of nurturing and social construction back to the book,
Yeah.
when you brought up how Hannah's family was a lot more loving towards Hannah, and Hannah was very loving towards Dr. Frank and was really there for them. It wasn't able to be reciprocated to the full extent because of Dr. Frank's upbringing.
Mhm.
So I
Mhm.
thought that clear parallel was really interesting.
You get deep into the like I want to get into spoilers so bad, but I'll keep it together. But it's yeah, I think the idea conceptually, the idea that someone's upbringing being homophobic, transphobic can literally make a monster, I think can be interpreted a lot of ways. Like, and and like also I'm very grateful for myself and the people in my life who, even if there were influences attempting to make it not okay to be who we are, like we found our own path. And like, I think there's so much to finding community who can support you outside of your family or outside of where you are from. Like, I think that that's really important to making sure like no one else is making a monster. like we're all actually we all have to talk to each other and support one another because we can't entrust where we come from to inform our whole future, or we're not really getting the full picture.
I love that you said that you're grateful for yourself. I think that's
Yeah.
really, really no beautiful, and honestly made me like think about it for myself. And I'm like, yeah, I'm grateful for myself too that I was able to find this on my own without the
Yeah.
proper role models, without the proper education, both in my queerness and my gender identity. So lucky that it turned out in a way that wasn't as traumatic as it could have been with
Yeah.
the lack of resources. And I think, yeah, I think especially it being Pride Month, taking that moment and just being proud of yourself, I think is so important and
Yeah.
something that I don't often think about because of course I have a wonderful support system with my friends and my chosen family. And, they've all been wonderful, but I think this is the first time I'm having a conversation with another non-binary person about being non-binary. And that's kind of blowing my mind right now. Is that
Mhm.
like that's a
Like, I
little
feel like that's all I talk about with non-binary people. What else would we talk about?
I think it's important to talk about our experiences because this is also in the book. I'm getting like having a moment.
Not so Raven moment.
Literally. The importance of talking about something so other people can learn from it.
Well, I mean, I think that's so much of what the book is like it's all stories being told to other characters. It's
Yeah.
like the three perspectives are
Yes.
all stories being told to one another, and like it's the story of their identity. Like it
Mhm.
is about their upbringing, it's about their history, it is a narrative, but it's also the story of themselves and the why of like why they are the way they are and why they are who they are. And I think that that is an important thing to be able, or like it has been for me, it has served me well to be able to articulate why I am this way. Like it's not something I think everyone needs to be able to do, but it has also come from like being in therapy since I was 15. Like there just comes a certain level of like learned ability to articulate my thoughts that has been very advantageous to me in my like healing journey that has now been able to like function as a part of my gender journey is like, oh,
Mhm.
like not only do I know why, I can also like talk about it. Like I and being able to like story tell, I think is really important and is like my most theatery activity I still do is just like holding court amongst my friends. And so like I feel like that the idea of storytelling being a way of like finding yourself and like being able to like solidify who you are through storytelling, I think is really important. And I thought was a really interesting like way these characters were built in this book.
Yeah. I'm just like, as you were saying about how each story is being told to the other characters, I'm pretty sure each of them start their stories by being like, I'm telling you this so you can learn from my mistakes.
Yes. What surprised you most about reading this book?
I think what surprised me was the introduction of the quote unquote monster, the creature, the
Yeah.
creation, and their first interaction.
Hmm.
I was surprised by that turn it took.
Hmm.
Um, but I think my favorite part, well, not the favorite, but one of my favorites was Dr. Frank and Hannah's kind of love story at the beginning of the book
Hmm.
before uh,
Everything.
everything. Um,
Everything else. Yeah.
but the fact that like they hadn't truly felt seen before until they met this person who just
Yeah.
kind of appeared. And, you know, I think it's interesting that both characters, Plum and Dr. Frank, both had their moments with their gender identities growing up, but it wasn't until they met their people where they started feeling comfortable in their bodies. I thought that was an interesting parallel to your story a little bit with meeting your partner and really coming into your own.
I think it was like getting to know someone who is meeting me at a point in my life that I'd never been at before. I was at the I knew my gender was more expansive than I had previously believed it to be at the time I met my partner. Like I knew that wasn't like that wasn't totally all it. Like I was not just a woman. Like I was not the gender I was assigned at birth. I knew that that wasn't true for me. And I knew non-binary was like a bigger umbrella that like I knew I was like somewhere under, but I wasn't totally sure where. The term I use most often is agender because I feel like I'm just kind of like it's not like I'm two, I was zeroed out. Like I don't feel like I want to be associated with any kind of gender. I don't really think it's necessary to who I am as a person. But I do think that like being like meeting my partner and like being with them has really been a way for me to show up in the world as a person is meeting me now. They know me now. They don't have the past to go off of. They don't have to change the way they think about me.
Mhm.
They
Mhm.
just know me. And
That
like
is such a good
having
point.
yeah, and, like, having someone in my life who just knows me and doesn't have the full history of who I was as a person years and years and years ago, like, that is really comforting to me because 'cause I'm almost getting to, like, craft the kind of person I want to be in the world based on, like, the mirror being shown back at me of, like, "Oh, someone is, like, seeing me for who I truly am," and, like, seeing that I have a history with other genders and sexualities I identified with in the past, but they're getting me now. They're getting like the most current corrected version of myself that I feel like I can be. And
Mhm.
so it is so nice to exist with someone in close quarters every day that sees me exactly the way I want to be seen.
Mhm.
And that was very healing for me and very like solidifying for like, oh, actually, it is believable that I'm non binary. Actually, it is the way that people do see me. There's more than one. It's not just my part. People do see me that way.
It's
But
funny because having being a person who knew you when we were younger,
yeah.
the moment I found out that you were non-binary as well, I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah.
Well, because it takes one to know one. Like it is like you're like, oh yeah. Like one of my best friends from college, her name is Maddie, and Maddie, I was not rooming with her my first semester. This is such a big part of my journey. I think it's so funny. My first semester of college, rooming with a stranger. She decided to drop out. So I had met Maddie doing like volunteer work. We were like gardening on campus. We were like doing the campus gardens. And we just got into a conversation. And this is so who Maddie is as a person. But she enjoyed our conversation so much that she and I'd leaked that my roommate was leaving at Christmas break. And I got an email from Maddie 2 weeks later and was like, hey, I'm going to be your roommate next semester. She had like emailed the school and been like, I know Taylor's going to have an open room. Can you move me into it? Because she was going to train as an RA and they were like going to put her on the hall. And I was like next door to the RA. So they were like, okay, perfect. Like you can go in there. So Maddie was my roommate, is now still one of my closest friends. And
Well, I'm glad you like them because that'd be insane.
it was insane. To be clear, I love her and it was insane, but it makes perfect sense for who she is as a person. She's a very direct person. She's like a double, maybe triple Leo. I remember that all happening. And then years later, she has the audacity to tell me that at the time she went home and told her friends, she was like, I really want to room with this person. I've always wanted to live with a non-binary lesbian. I was neither of those things at the time.
That is so funny.
I only thought I was a straight woman. I spent an hour with Maddie in the campus garden, and she was like, I have to live with this non-binary lesbian. I'm like, oh, but oh, so
you were seen.
There have been so many people in my life, so many queer people in my life who have seen me and been like, okay, we'll wait. And like that, what it is.
Looking back on your high school relationship, you were like low-key morphing into him while you were dating.
I know. I know. It's all clear to me now. It's all painfully clear. Also, the two serious relationships I had in high school.
Wait, who did you? Okay, let's get back to
what's up. I have so much, so many other things to say.
Hey guys, we just had a major tea spilling session that I'm editing out. So we're back. I have no idea where we left off in the edit. What kind of reader are you? What books are you into? What books are you reading right now? Tell me about yourself.
Yeah. So last year I read 25 books in the year 2025, which the year that is more than I'd read in the 5 years prior total.
Such a satisfying
I was
like,
goal. That like became the goal over the course of the year. I was like, actually, I think I could do this. So then I was like, okay, 2026, we're going to read 26 books. But I'm like more on track to read 30 this year at this point. So like I definitely read at least a little bit every day. I can read on my commute, but generally not on the train. Like I can read on my commute because it's an train that doesn't wobble around too much and make me like car sick kind of. But so I'm finding more and more time to read. I read on my lunch breaks. I read all like primarily like before bed and then on my lunch at work. But I really like horror. Vast majority of what I read is fiction. I love a sci-fi moment or just like a near future kind of thing. And I started reading a lot more because I got my library card. Like I got my Brooklyn Public Library card, and that has been just the best. And when I was first going to like get books there, I would just kind of like wander around my local branch and like see what stuck. I just was approaching it like very open-ended and not really having a specific like genre or thing that I was looking for at any given time. And I would go pick 3 books at a time that were as different from each other as they could be. But over the last like little bit, the longer that I'm looking into various books and stuff, my algorithm is getting like to be more about like book recs and things. So I will like screenshot various posts. I love getting book recs that are just like one weird sentence that like describes the book, and I'm like, that's all I need to know. I'm like, I'll read a summary. I'll find a grid post that'll have a bunch of different books and it's one sentence descriptors. I take a few screenshots of what I'd actually be interested in reading. I save them in a folder on my phone. And
That's so
then I
fun.
like, when I'm like, it's time to go back to the library, I like place holds on them so that I just go pick them up. So that way I'm not like kind of open ended out loose in the wild looking for stuff. I'm more just like seeing things in my day to day and like saving them to go read later. So, but I get a lot of recommendations that's either like weird books or queer books or crossover of this. So that's most of what I've been reading. It's just like very, very strange stuff. I read a John Waters book that was unhinged. Liar Mouth by John Waters was insane from start to, I mean, it's like John Waters movies, but like in book form somehow could be crazier because you didn't have to rely on like special effects or production
Right.
value. So it's just like balls to the wall. Like one of the characters is one of the other characters' dicks. Like insane. Like full separate storyline for the
It's so
man's
good.
penis. It is unhinged. So
Putting
I'm
that
like,
on my TBR immediately.
oh, it was an insane book. It was like trampoline cult. Like I don't even know. One of the other books I sent you called Walking Practice was like from the perspective of a shape-shifting space alien who like shapeshifts into any gender or form basically to do sex work, but instead of getting paid in money, they eat the person. That's their food because they're an alien.
Adding
Um,
to my TBR.
yeah. Yeah. And then I just finished a really beautiful book called Light from Uncommon Stars by Reyes Okai. It's Aoki, the last name, that I definitely bumped to the top of your to read list because it is
Okay.
a violin instructor who falls in love with a woman who owns a donut shop. And the violin instructor turns out to be, this is not a spoiler, this comes very early on, but like the violin instructor actually sold her soul to the devil and is like recruiting students to get her soul back, to give them to the devil to get her soul back. And then the donut shop owner is an alien who's trying to find her family's way home. And they fall in love.
I really need your algorithm to become my algorithm because where are you finding these books?
I told you, weird,
I
weird,
love
weird,
it.
weird, weird.
Have you read anything by Chuck Tingle? Which, yes, it's a
Um,
real author's name.
no, no, no. This sounds really familiar, which is like, I'm like, have I? I don't think I have, but yeah.
I would recommend Lucky Day by Chuck Tingle. Queer female main character, just insanity happens
Mhm.
and horror. And that's all I'm going to tell
Mhm.
you. But I recommend it. It's
Perfect.
uh,
Cover looks great. Adding it to my screenshots folder.
just truly like bonkers.
Yeah. Nice.
Maybe you're going to read it and think it's pretty tame from what I'm hearing, but I read it for a
Doesn't mean I
24-hour
love
reading
it.
challenge I did
Yeah.
recently, and I had forgotten what the back of the book said, and was just floored while reading it,
Mhm.
which brings me to what you said earlier about only reading a sentence. So smart. I feel like so many books say way too much on the jacket.
Yeah. No, I don't need to know all that.
I do want to do a little moment for people who are watching this. If you're, questioning your identity, if you're going through your own journey, something to take away from this book is it's so important to find your people, your chosen family, to surround yourself with love, and to ask questions and communicate and talk about it. Because if you just keep it to yourself, you're going to create a monster.
Yes, it's true. It's true. Yeah, but this book and like the happenings of my life for the last 5 years have really both taught me that a family can look like anything.
Yeah.
And that like the family that we make is, dare I say, more important to who we are as people in the present than the family that provided us the tools to not be who we are. Um,
100%.
so
And that's the mindset you have to have too.
there's people are always like, it gets better. I'm like, it gets different. It's just different. I don't like to put a qualifier on the past or the present or the future so much as I'm just like, life happens, it changes, and it changes you, and like, fine. Just be
Yeah,
fine with that, and fine with the fact that like maybe there's things you need to change about yourself.
absolutely. I mean, if I was the same person I was 10 years ago, holy shit, I would not like myself very much.
Yeah, you have to like grow with yourself.
You have to like, you know, accept who you were in the past and accept all versions of yourself and just also while focusing on who you
Yeah.
are in the present.
Yeah.
I love what you said about your partner meeting them as like who you are now and then seeing you for who you are now. Just the idea of still being who you are at your core, but also changing and going with the flow with everything
Yeah.
is very, very beautiful to see. And as an old friend, I'm very proud of you and would love to reconnect.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm proud of you too. I do actually like want to get together and be like human in real
Yeah,
life. Would be sick.
let's do
So
it.
let's do it.
Well, thank you so much for talking with me. This was such a
Yeah.
good convo. Read Unwieldy Creatures if you're interested. And let us know if you have any questions in the comments. And thank you for watching. And thank you, Taylor, for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.